Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Let's get the latest update concerning the situation in Ukraine with Security Minister Damian Hinds, who joins me now. What do we understand? Part of one city has now been taken under Russian control, or all of this particular city, Kherson? What do we understand the situation to be, Minister? Good morning.
Good morning. Look, it's a fast-moving situation, Nick. I mean, you've heard what the mayor locally has said, but we await to know the fuller picture. I mean, clearly there continues to be pounding from this advancing force, and although things clearly have not gone entirely to plan, or entirely as Vladimir Putin would have expected, clearly this is an enormous force, a very well equipped and very large army. And it's a desperate situation in Ukraine. I'm focused very much on what we're also doing on the assistance, the humanitarian, the refugee side of things. We've just announced 2 big new humanitarian routes for people to be able to leave the country and leave the surrounding countries to come to Britain. Those are, as I say, 2 big programs. It's right we put in place that support, but also we're giving direct support to countries like Poland, who of course are taking such vast numbers of people crossing the border. Some of whom will come to the UK, some will go to other European countries, but some will want to stay put, so they're close by to home for when they eventually return.
What level of paperwork do people have to have with them to satisfy the authorities if they're seeking refuge in the United Kingdom?
Well, we want to make the process as straightforward as possible, and that's why we're setting up additional application centres, places like Rzeszów in Poland, close to where the concentrations of people are, Chisinau in Moldova and elsewhere, but also staffing up our application centres right across Europe, because, as you know, Ukrainians have Schengen rights. Once they come into a country like Poland, they can move across Europe, and many will, to places where they have family connections. We want to make the application process as simple as possible. And for this new, I mentioned the community settlement route, one of the 2 new routes that we're bringing in. We also want to make that process work as simply as possible, so that people can get as settled as they can, and in the immediate term that kids can settle into their education environment, people can access work or navigate the benefit system and all those sorts of things. We're absolutely wanting and trying and determined to do all we can to help.
Can we ensure that someone seeking to gain access to the country with all the wrong motives is kept out, Minister?
Yes, and it is important. Look, it's the women and children who have been battered around by this terrible situation are in the most desperate circumstance. We want to make things as straightforward for them as possible. But you're right to identify there are always other people, not decent people, who will seek to take advantage of situations. And so we do need to know who is coming into the country, and that means doing the biometric checks and so on. But we just want to make that as straightforward, as non-intrusive, and as little delay as possible.
Just coming back to the situation in the Ukraine, what is the British intelligence or Ministry of Defence understanding how long this might last? To use an expression from World War I, will the troops be home by Christmas, Minister? So,
Nick, I mean, there's a range of planning scenarios, and look, the honest truth is that you can't answer that question. It could go different ways. Already, I think that the wells of strength that the Ukrainian people have found, the resistance that they've put up, has been utterly remarkable. I think, it's taken everybody by surprise, not least Vladimir Putin, and things have not gone as well as he would have expected for him. But it is still an overwhelming force and a very strong army. So we don't know, but there is a range of planning scenarios that that our government, that our military will look at and make sure that we're able to respond to whichever it is.
Coming back to events in the UK, if we look at what's happening in Europe, one particular so-called oligarch has had his yacht seized in Hamburg. I refer to Alisher Usmanov. Given the higher number of Russians who have extraordinary wealth in this city and indeed around the UK, shouldn't we be seizing assets?
Yeah, and look, we're going to go further. I mean, we've acted very quickly on the initial round of sanctions. That includes individuals as well as organisations, banks, and so on. But we've always been clear it's a ratchet approach, and there can be more to come. I mean, specifically on assets. So we've got legislation going through Parliament at the moment. We'll be debating it on Monday to include bolstering, for example, unexplained wealth orders, which are a potentially potent tool, which can then open investigations to lead to the proceeds of crime being seized. We need to both gum up that system. We need to stop the money laundering, but also, as you rightly say, where it is possible, and obviously we operate within a legal framework, but where it is possible, we are absolutely motivated to seize the proceeds of crime. So
were a yacht to be tied up in London or Poole or wherever it might be, the British government would seek to seize it?
So look, you tempt me, Nick, to get into the specifics of an operational decision. Forgive me, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that live on air. I can tell you we are absolutely motivated to. We are committed to making sure that sanctions work, and we're also motivated to make sure that we can seize the proceeds of crime, but I won't talk about an individual case on the radio. All
right, let's see if I can get a response from you on this. The Electoral Commission released figures yesterday that showed the Conservative Party accepted £80,000 from Lyubov Chernykin in the last financial quarter. She's the wife of Vladimir Chernykin, who was the Deputy Finance Minister under Mr. Putin. Why would the Conservatives accept that cash?
Look, there are rules in place. There are long-standing rules about who is eligible to donate to political parties. It has to be people on the UK electoral roll, so people who are eligible to vote in this country, and then they are declared publicly, as you rightly say, by the Electoral Commission. I honestly can't. It's not that I'm holding something back from you. I honestly can't comment more on the individual you just said, because I genuinely, as I sit here this morning, I don't know further details. But I do know we have that system which is transparent about who gives money to political parties. And in the elections bill currently going through Parliament, we are strengthening the system. And in particular, the role that third parties from other countries can play, and to severely restrict that in terms of the influence that third parties might have in our electoral system.
But what sort of look do you think it gives, Minister? And you, as a senior member of the Conservative Party, how do you feel about the fact that your party accepts cash from someone, or the wife of someone, who is a senior minister under Vladimir Putin? It's a very, very grave look, isn't it?
Well, I don't accept that my political party accepts money from illegitimate sources. There are, as there should be, there are rules in place about who is permitted to donate, and then those donations have to be transparently declared. And as I say, in current legislation, or legislation that is currently being progressed, we are tightening the system in terms of foreign money that can have an effect on our electoral system and our politics.
Lastly, you might have seen pictures. Vladimir Putin, or his people answering his command, have now imprisoned primary school children. Their crime was to attend an anti-war demo, and a grandmother who endured the Second World War has also been arrested in Russia. What will the United Kingdom do to try and possibly bring Putin to be tried for war crimes?
Well, I mean, what you say is appalling, isn't it? And I welcome the fact that the international criminal system is now going to be gathering evidence. As the Prime Minister said the other day, every indication that Vladimir Putin has been is absolutely guilty. But it's really important that not only he, but also the generals, the officers in his army know that evidence is being gathered, and that people can be held to account through the international justice system.
Grateful for your time. Thank you, Security Minister Damian Hinds, appearing here on LBC. We're at 9 o'clock. Let's get the latest news headlines with Holly Harris.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock, 1 million refugees have fled Ukraine in the week since